The Galactic Queen was abandoned, but humanity risked everything to rescue her. The stars were silent as Captain Elias Hunter gazed at the holographic map on the bridge of his ship, the Horizon. He had been given an impossible mission. Find the Galactic Queen, Lyra of the Zephran Empire, who had been betrayed by her closest allies and left to die on a forgotten world. No one knew where she was, or she even survived. But Elias had a gut feeling that there was something more to this mission than just saving one woman. Queen Lyra had ruled the Zephran Empire with wisdom and compassion. Under her leadership, the galaxy had known peace, prosperity, and unity. But those days were long gone. Lyra's closest advisors, hungry for power, had orchestrated a brutal coup. They stripped her of her throne, her power, and her dignity, believing she would perish on an uncharted planet. They abandoned her to fade into the depths of space. But humanity had never been one to forget, especially not someone who had sought peace in a galaxy full of chaos. Elias knew that this was no ordinary rescue mission. It was a chance to show that humanity still held on to ideals of honor, loyalty, and courage. It was about proving that in a universe where betrayal and greed reigned, there was still room for righteousness. Part 1. The Search. Elias assembled his team. Sergeant Kayla, an expert sharpshooter with unparalleled precision. Lieutenant Zara, an engineer who could fix anything under the stars. And Corporal Tarek, a seasoned medic who had saved countless lives in battle. Together, they were an elite team that had seen the horrors of space warfare, but nothing could prepare them for what they would face in this mission. The journey to the forgotten world took days. The coordinates were vague, and the planet was nothing more than a barren rock, uninhabited and hostile. But there, at the edge of the galaxy, they arrived. The planet was more desolate than Elias had expected. There were no signs of life, no atmosphere to support it, only endless stretches of cracked earth and jagged cliffs. The crew's morale began to dip as they scoured the landscape, searching for any trace of the fallen queen. After hours of searching, hope was nearly lost when a flicker of movement caught Elias's eye. A figure appeared on the horizon, barely visible in the harsh winds and swirling dust. His heart skipped a beat. "Is it her?" Tarek asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "It has to be," Elias replied, scanning the horizon. The figure stumbled forward, weak and fragile, barely able to stand. It wasn't until they were closer that Elias recognized her. Queen Lyra, barely clinging to life. Her clothes were torn, her face gone from starvation, and her once proud posture now reduced to a broken figure of despair. But despite the physical toll, her eyes still shone with determination. She was alive. Elias rushed forward and caught her in his arms as she collapsed, too weak to walk any further. "Your Majesty," he whispered, his voice full of reverence. "We've come for you." Lyra's eyes fluttered open, filled with confusion and disbelief. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice weak but tinged with a trace of hope. "I'm Captain Elias Hunter," he replied, his voice steady. "I'm here to take you home." She stared at him for a long moment, as if trying to comprehend the words. "Humanity would risk everything for me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Elias said firmly. "We don't leave our own behind. We've come to bring you back." Part 2. The Return. Lyra was taken aboard the Horizon, where the medical team worked tirelessly to stabilize her. The once proud queen was now just a shadow of herself, frail and weakened, yet her mind remained sharp. As she regained consciousness, Elias stood beside her. "The galaxy is in chaos," he explained. "The factions you once ruled have fractured. The empire you built has crumbled without you. But we're here to fix that." Lyra's eyes narrowed. She had heard the news of her empire's disintegration, but it was hard to grasp just how far things had fallen in her absence. "And the ones who betrayed me?" she asked, her voice hardening. "They live," Elias replied, "but their power is fleeting. Without you, they are nothing." Lyra sat up, her expression one of steely resolve. "I have no army, no throne, only the ashes of what was once mine." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have us. We'll help you rebuild." The queen's eyes softened, but the fire within them still burned brightly. "Then let's begin," she said, The galaxy won't wait forever. Part 3. Rebuilding the Empire. The journey to restore Lyra's empire was not an easy one. The galaxy had moved on, and the power dynamics had shifted dramatically. Lyra's enemies, emboldened by her disappearance, had risen to power. Now, she had to unite the fractured factions, but the task seemed insurmountable. Yet Lyra's determination never wavered. She sent messages to the loyalists who had once served her, calling upon them to rally to her cause. Slowly, the pieces of the Empire began to fall into place. The Terran Federation, recognizing the strength of humanity's resolve, lent its support, with Elias and his team standing by her side. It wasn't just about military might. Lyra's true strength lay in her diplomacy, her ability to unite people even when they seemed beyond saving. She spoke of rebuilding the galaxy, not through conquest, but through cooperation and mutual respect. The factions, once bitter enemies, began to listen. Months passed, and Lyra's influence began to grow once more. Her presence in the galaxy was a beacon of hope. Despite the odds, she was reclaiming her throne, not through violence, but through the power of unity and vision. Part 4, The Final Stand. It wasn't long before the remaining enemies, those who had betrayed Lyra and seized power, saw her as a threat to their rule. The final battle was inevitable. But this time, Lyra didn't face her enemies alone. She had the full support of those who had once abandoned her, and of humanity, who had risked everything to rescue her. Together, they launched a final strike to reclaim the capital of the Zephran Empire. The battle was fierce, but Lyra's forces, bolstered by humanity's unwavering support, triumphed. The traitors who had abandoned her were brought to justice, and the galaxy was once again united under her rule. Part 5. A New Beginning. In the aftermath of the battle, Lyra stood before the stars, the weight of her journey etched into her face. She had lost everything, but humanity's sacrifice had allowed her to rebuild. The galaxy would never forget the woman who had been abandoned but never lost her will to fight. "I will rebuild the Empire," Lyra said, her voice full of resolve. "But this time, it will be for everyone." Humanity showed me that even in the darkest times, there is always hope. Elias stood by her side, watching the galaxy unfold before them. "We'll be here, Your Majesty, every step of the way." And so, the once-abandoned queen reclaimed her throne, not just for herself, but for the future of the galaxy. She had been abandoned, but humanity's courage had given her a second chance to lead.